good. When after I had my near-death experience, I actually went back to my spiritual teacher and I was asking, like, what did I do wrong? Because I already was practicing meditation, prayers. I was trying to be positive in my mindset, in my actions, in my emotions. But I still attracted this accident. And so he then explained that I had what we call bad feng shui. Hi, I'm Marie Diamond. I'm in your superior self.
Dame Marie Diamond. Dame. I think you're the first dame that I've ever had on this show. Can you explain to the folks that never heard that before, like what that is?
Yes, it's the name when you are knighted for your charity work. So you can be knighted by a king or a queen, but you also can be knighted by the oldest organization that has still the right to knight for charity, and it's called the Hospital Knights. And so I am knighted for my charity work worldwide by the Order of the Hospital Knights. And so it's only, I would say, non-religious or non-political organization that exists since 800. So it's like 1200 years old that, and for your great work for the world, you can get knighted. And if you're a woman, you'll get named Dame. And if you're a man, you get named Knight. So,
Did you have that on your vision board?
That's a good question. No, but I had on my vision board that I was here to enlighten more than 500 million people, that I really want to make a big impact in whatever way I could, if that was through my work or through my charity. So I think somehow it was in on my vision board, but I never expected to be recognized in a certain way for it.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that, like vision board. We're talking about law of attraction. You have made an appearance in one of the most famous law of attraction videos out there, The Secret. How did you become aware of the law of attraction, and when did you find like a connection to that?
Well, I was actually very young. I had a spiritual mentor very early on when I was like 7 that taught me how to meditate. And he was already explaining to me that if I would, imagine things that I could manifest, but how do you explain that to a young child? So he would actually ask me to draw anything I desired. And so for me in the beginning, it was just like, I wanted to have a happy family. I mean, I did not think about traveling or being in a movie or whatever, right? At that time, I just was like, I want a happy family. So I was drawing over and over again the family, and with hearts and sunshine and all this, because we did not have that kind of family. It was a family with a lot of conflict in it. And so I didn't really manifest till, I think it was a little bit too generous or too general. And I wanted to like focus on one thing. And then my oldest brother actually got married without the family knowing, and I wanted him to come home for Christmas. So I started drawing all the time that we were at the Christmas table and he would be there with his wife, and I was drawing it over and over and over again. So like as a child, you draw again and again something, and so I had no idea that I was actually visualizing, in a child's way. And yes, a few months later, he and his wife reconciled with my family, and they were there for the next Christmas. So that was the first time I really got like, wow, this is working. Yeah. So, but for me, visualizing, I did not know how to create a vision board or anything. So for me, it was drawing it over and over, not in my mind, but physically on a paper.
Well, a 7-year-old finding a spiritual teacher, how did that come about?
Well, it's actually, when you say you're ready, the teacher appears. So it was literally a teacher that came into my life. We were very open family. I was living in Belgium, but my father had a lot of connections with in America. So I was very open to spoke English already at that time, even if that was not my first language. So I was very open to connect with a lot of people already at that time. And so there was a spiritual master in our connections that really liked me as I was a young girl, right? And I was like so smart already for my age because I spoke actually 3 languages already at that time. And so, I was asking questions. And so he would tell me certain things. Each time he would come closer to the family, he would share certain things. And my family was aware of me being somebody that could see energy. So I was a child already. And when I was like, 2, 3 years old, I would say certain things that came through, or I would say to somebody, this person is sick. I can see it in the energy field. So my parents, even though they were very Catholic, they were very open to this child that had a great intuition already at that time. So I do believe it was very early for my age, because at 30, I was already speaking and teaching. So I had to kind of start earlier than most people, I think.
Sure. So a clairvoyant early on, 7 years old, probably 2, 3 years old, realizing that, so you could see people's energy. But there was a catalyst, right? Like I think a near-death experience that kind of propelled you down this journey of connecting with people.
Yeah, it was. So when I was 15, I was, a high school student, right? And I was run over by a truck. And so they actually declared me dead. Thank God my mom was very close to the place where the accident was. And somebody went to warn her that I had an accident. It was like literally 300 meters from our house. And so she came and started screaming to say, you need to really revive her. But they already had put a blanket over me, like she's done. And as I was in the ambulance, I saw myself laying down and them working on me. And I saw my mother in the ambulance, and I was like, what is she doing here? Because I know I was by myself on my way back from school to home. And that is when I kind of left that experience. And I went to like all dimensions. I cannot explain differently than going with an airplane through all clouds. And then you kind of hit the beautiful sunshine, the blue sky, but this time it was just light. And there were beings of light. I cannot say it differently. It's like some would call it angels, others would call it masters. And I really got clearly the message that I had to go back, that I was here to enlighten more than 500 million people. And I had no idea what that meant at that time. So I came back after a few days out of coma, and that stuck to me. And from that day on, I asked every day to God, to the universe, I am here to enlighten more than 500 million people. Please show me how. Because I even had calculated, if I would become 70, if I would become 80, and if I would change one person's life a day, how much people I would have reached. But of course, I didn't come to anything close on 100,000. So I thought there will be a different way. Yeah. And I remember I was a year of 17 when I had a dream that I saw myself like on screens, but the screens were as big as this. The screen was like as big as this and then bigger, but not like, super huge. I had no idea, of course, I was future vision of tablets and iPhones and computers. And that was like, I saw myself, and I was like, oh, this is how I'm going to reach people. That was like very clear to me, but I had no idea what technological revolution still had to happen, of course. Sure. So I was like very clear that I was going to make a difference for millions of people's life, but I just did not know how. And that didn't mean anything either, because I always believe in law of attraction. We can have the desire, we can have the vision, but we don't have to figure out the how. The how will come and unfold on our path.
When you had that out of body experience, when they had the sheet over you, did you still have that awareness of your personality, the persona of Marie?
Yes, I did. I was very clear still it was me, because I still remember I was like floating above my body in the ambulance. And the guy that was working on me, the ambulance guy, he had curly blonde hair and he had blue eyes. And I remember 15-year-old thinking, oh my God, he's so cute. I mean, that was in my brain. So I was like, still like, oh, Marie likes that boy that is there. So I would say that was definitely part of a personality. I just really still knew, even when I was on the other side, I still knew it was me. So I did not come together with a unity consciousness, that probably if I would have really passed on, that would have occurred. But I was still quite, I still knew it was me. Yes.
Sure. What about the awareness of like being, of passing on, like death, like the idea, the concept? Were you aware of that concept? And like, was there any fear associated when you started having conversations with those higher beings?
No, it was just like, oh, I just felt like I knew them, to be honest. It was like, oh, there you are. It was like, there was no fear. There was just peaceful energy, to be honest. And so for me, it was like having a conversation with you to, like, I don't know you, but I feel safe and good with talking to you. So for me, it was the same experience.
Sure. Do we really not know each other? I feel like we all know each other.
Probably we are.
Probably. But going back to that message of 500 million people you're going to touch.
Yeah.
Do you think that everyone has this type of mission or purpose in life? Like we have a mission here on Earth?
I do believe that every human being has ultimately a mission. And the mission is probably to finalize their soul purpose. Yeah. And so that soul purpose can be many things. And it can be being an amazing mother and father for your children. It can be perhaps doing practicing the skill sets that you have. Perhaps it is affecting also a greater amount of people. I would say there can be many things, and they're all good because they all are about evolving. And so I do believe our purpose is all to experience our God self, our universal self, into that physical three-dimensional experience, and to evolve emotionally, physically, mentally, and for sure spiritually, to become a better version of you. I think that's ultimately a mission we all have. But how that is, I would say, addressed and how that is shared with the world, that will be different from person to person. I do also believe myself very much into reincarnation. So I do believe that I probably have a greater purpose, not greater, it's not wrong, it's wrong, a greater impact. Purpose is all good, but a greater impact because I probably have done so much other things before, and that I was ready perhaps to be in the world and to share. And I remember when I was talking to my spiritual teacher, and I was saying, how can I reach 500 million people? He said, well, you have to be ready to become famous. And for me, that was like the last thing I wanted to become. I was like, I don't know, I'm not becoming famous. I just want to be, doing my work and having a great family. And he said, well, there will be no other way for you. Your name will be out there. And are you okay with that? And I said, I'm okay with that if it's for the greater good of humanity. I am not okay for it if it's just from my ego. So for me, doing my work and bringing my work forward is for the greater good of humanity and not for me. I'm totally happy being with my family and my children and relaxing and being in the world that just as a regular person. Sure. But apparently there's another purpose for me.
Well, how do people make that, I guess, see the difference, right? How do you know that your desire is coming from a higher power or a powerful, meaningful pull, right? As opposed to being an ego created desire, right? Like, I know there's a difference, right? Like, how do people differentiate between the two?
Well, for me, for example, for me, it was quite clear because it came from out of the near-death experience. I never had that desire personally to enlighten more than 500 million people. Right? My personal desire at that time was to be a great dancer. That was actually what I wanted to be. Or I also wanted to perhaps become a space engineer. That was like my two things I desired at that time. So to be honest, I never had that experience. So I do believe when people take time to meditate, to do prayers, to take time to listen to their inner voice, the voice of light and love in themselves, that is then they can listen and hear what is that greater purpose, that soul purpose. I do believe it's in the silence that we can find it. It's in the being in a higher vibration that we can find it. And also a higher purpose or soul purpose is always about making a difference, or helping people, or uplifting the planet, or something beyond yourself. When it is a desire, and we can have that, and at the same time we can have desires from the ego, perhaps a desire to go and visit a certain place, or to meet somebody that is very important to you, or you can have also these desires, and they're all okay. Sometimes people think, oh, they're not okay because they're not connected with my soul. But that's part of being a human being. We can have these desires. Like I had the desire for a long time to see a beautiful painting of Botticelli, the Bird of Venus. And so last weekend I went to Firenze, to the Uffizi Museum, and that was, I'm sure, not a desire from my soul. It was just something I always wanted to do since I saw that image, so an image of that painting. And so by being there, I just felt so great to see that. Was that the desire of my soul? Probably not. It was just a desire of something that I've seen once many years ago, and I was like, I want to visit that. Yeah. So that is something that pleases you. That desire is to help to experience you as a human being. Yeah, and enjoy your life. Yeah. And that is all perfect to have that. Yeah. But there are, I would say, desires coming from your soul, but they're always about making a difference, creating an exponential impact beyond yourself. I think that's the two difference. Yeah.
I love that. You have created I guess you have divvied up like different components of law of attraction, right? Like you have the heavenly luck, you have the human luck, and the earth luck, right? Like, so the human luck would be more or less like your thoughts, your emotions, your control of those, or like your awareness of those. Can you talk about, well, just so you know, I've rearranged my entire office after listening to one of your talks, and
wonderful.
I'm actually facing my energy direction right now, which is south.
Oh, good. Oh, that's
southwest.
amazing. Southwest, like me. So you're facing southwest. That's great. So yeah. So what I understood when after I had my near-death experience, I actually went back to my spiritual teacher and I was asking, like, what did I do wrong? Because I already was practicing meditation, prayers. I was trying to be positive in my mindset, in my actions, in my emotions. But I still attracted this accident. And so he then explained that I had what we call bad feng shui, and that it was my environmental luck that was really affecting me. And so later on, when I started studying feng shui, my physical grandmaster, he told me that there are three parts of creation, or what we would call three parts of law of attraction. And so the first part is called the heavenly luck. And that's, everybody has heavenly luck. When you come on this planet and you get talents, you have skills, you have attracted a certain family. So we already have what I call the law of attraction as a little package when we are born. But some people don't really have that great heavenly luck either. So right now, if you would be born in a city in war zone, your heavenly luck is not so great. Now, it doesn't mean it cannot change, but the startup was not so great. Yeah. And some of you will say, well, I had certain parents. That was not a great start, having such a parents, right? So that is, we say, responsible for your destiny. Your karma is included in that. And that is about 33.3% of your outcome. Yeah. So people are born with a certain, I would say story, law of attraction story that they are unfolding. Yeah. And some people only unfold that story and they don't pay attention to the rest. Yeah. So this is the second part that we call the human luck. And as like you explained, is your mindset, is how you feel, what are you doing, your human expression of yourself. Yeah. And so the moment you become aware of that and conscious about that, you shift your human luck. That is where people that study self-help, law of attraction, people that are looking into motivation, they change that. Yeah. And so they actually change their heavenly luck because of that, because they are implementing a different programming in themselves. Now, some people in the motivational and self-help industry, they will say that is about 100%. Anything that you can change with your mind, that's it. But I say, yes, only 33.3%. And then there's a last part that I started figuring out when I was 15, and it's called your environment. And that is where about 4,000 years ago, the feng shui masters in China started understanding that the environment is as influential on us, where we sleep, where we live, where we work, on our mindset, on our emotions, and on how we process things. And so they found out there's an energy system behind it, like there's laws, there's principles behind it. And so that's responsible for the last 33.3%. And that's the wonderful thing, is that's the easiest to change. Yes, because if you change your mindset, let's be honest, thinking every day positive and feeling positive every day, wow, that's quite intense. But if you just change your desk, for example, and you're adding certain basic principles, like you're just talking about your energy direction, I can talk to that right away. But it's like it's based on your birthday. If you are connecting with how the environment works for you, yeah, and uplifts your vibration and makes it easier for you to think positive, to feel positive, to do the right things, and to even connect more with your soul purpose and your soul energy, then it's like the foundation is placed. And so when I found that out, I started doing that. It's like magic started happening for me. It was like, oh, all the other things that I tried to attain were sometimes hard, but now became more effortless, more easy to manifest things. And so that's the last part of the law of attraction that I decided to start sharing with the world. And so when I started connecting in and moved to America, and I started having, great names like John Gray and Bob Proctor and Jack Canfield as my clients, they all came to me and said, I'm hitting a ceiling. I mean, these are the top people in the world on that subject of the human luck, right? And so they're saying, well, we're hitting a ceiling. And so when I brought in the change in the environment, then suddenly the ceiling opened up and they could expand even to a bigger level. And it became easier, because I do believe we don't have to push things, we don't have to go against the wind. We have to feel the wind behind us. And when we do that, things are just going so much easier. And this is what I have practiced. And that's how, by practicing this, I got into The Secret as the only European star in The Secret. I have reached more than 1 million online students. Through The Secret, I have been able to reach more than 500 million people through the movie, through the book. So have I done effort? Yes, of course. Every day I keep going and I'm passionate about what I bring, but it's not with the same effort as other people, because I have the flow. It's like I am in the flow moving forward.
So the flow, right? So how do you align yourself with that flow, right? Like for someone who isn't as an average Joe, right? Like a me, right? Like who rearranges his desk and his office to align with that earth luck that you talk about.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the human luck, right? So emotionally and mentally, I meditate and I try to align myself with my higher self, right? Is it as simply as ignoring my external conditions and focusing in on what I desire, or is it kind of just like not allowing that external to really bother me, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, I think it's somewhere in between, to be honest. It's like what I do believe in is if you are aligning yourself every morning. And so I have this special meditation that I call the tubes of light that I have taught to so many people that was given to me by my teacher, where I'm aligning myself every day with the energy of the universe. Yeah. And so by like I would say re-energizing myself and recalibrating myself in the morning. It's like taking a shower. Like instead of taking only a shower, I take an energetic shower and I align myself, with that vibration. What happens when you do that? You're set for the rest of the day. Of course, the rest of the day you still have to be conscious about your mind and trying to stay in that flow of gratitude and flow of positivity. But if you're set in the morning already and aligned with that, it's easier to get going. But then if you also have your environment, your earth luck in place, then it's like your home or the place where you are living or sleeping or working is not bringing you down, but it's uplifting you to stay easier in that flow. That is what my students have and clients have seen over the years, that literally they do the meditations, they do all this wonderful practice that have been learned by many other teachers, but the environment, their home, is actually bringing them down energetically, and they are not even aware of it till they change something. They're like, wow, like all this energy is uplifting and a different vibe, because you have to think you can do as much as you can with your body and your mind and your spirit, but your home is a bigger energy. It's bigger because it's physically bigger, right? And so anything that's around you, the position in your place, the images that you have around you, the colors that you have around you, is all affecting you subconsciously, nonstop, 24 hours a day. While you perhaps with your meditations and your positive thinking are working on it 5-10 minutes, perhaps here and there during the day, but if your environment is thinking with you, is feeling with you, is supporting you together to uplift you 24 hours a day, when you sleep, when you work, when you live, have a social life, then there's such a strength that comes out because you are constantly in the flow. And the story that you have in your mind is aligned with the story in your home. And it's not resisting, it's not telling a different story. Because a lot of times I come in somebody's home and say, what do you want? And I said, this is my desires. And I said, this is never going to happen in this house, because the way you have put things around you is telling a total different story. It's actually even contradicting it. Yeah. And so who do you think will win, your house or your mind? Your house has a bigger mind than you.
Mm-hmm. Was it clutter? Is it like particular items that kind of go against your desire? Or is it just, I mean, is it order? Like, how can people determine whether or not, if they don't have the luxury of having Marie Diamond come into their home, what can they look around in their immediate area and say, all right, well, these are the things I need to change right now?
Yeah. So there are several steps that I always suggest for people, right? So the first step is you need to create space. Yeah. Space in your environment. So decluttering is the first step. Yeah. Because everything that's around you is affecting you subconsciously. So if you have clutter then and chaos, then don't be surprised you have a lack of focus, a lack of clarity, and you have chaos in your mind and in your heart. So always clean up things as much as you can and start with the bedroom, start with your workspace, start with your living room. This is like the first things that you always try to let go of things. As you let go of things, your surrender, the flow to the surrender will start happening. That's the first step. The second step is we always say you need to be in what we call a power position. Yeah? A power position means that you are in the ability to see the flow coming towards you. And the flow always comes with people. And so if you're in your space where you are right now, I think you rearrange things so you could see the door. Is that correct, Trey?
Well, my desk is weird, so it's an L shape, right? So if I
Yeah.
sit at the main desk, I'm looking out my door, right? But if I'm facing you, I'm looking out my window, which is
Okay.
southwest.
Okay. So the first step we always want to do is see the door. Yeah, as much as we can. So even if it's in the peripheral view, so we have that view that we can do this and we can see it. Yeah. So when we see the door, literally our brain waves changes, and we go in what we call alpha brainwave. When we're in alpha, we're more inspired. We have more solution driven focus. When we are with our back to the door, like we would literally turn around and I sit with the back to the door, then our brain goes into a beta. And in beta, we're more fear-based, we see more the problems, and we're not seeing the solutions. So our brain shifts. This is, things we have tested out. And with encephalograms, that simple change, like always sit yourself up that you see the door as much as you can, even if it's a little bit to the side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you don't have to like turn around completely. Yeah. That would be really wrong. The second thing, once you are doing that, and you're doing that when you are, each time you're awake, yeah, like at your desk, if you have meetings, always make sure you see the people coming into the space that you are in. And people don't go through the windows. Yeah. So people, you really come in through the doors. Even if nobody visits you, you still position yourself this way. You also want to make sure there's space in front of you. Yeah. So just even, for example, at your desk, I can sit somebody on the other side of my desk, even if there's nobody there. But in this virtual world, you are on the other side of my desk talking to me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're setting yourself up as what I call the king or the queen of your space. Yeah. Just doing that, I have seen amazing shifts happening in people's life, financially, career-wise. So just by changing this around, they feel more in control over the flow of life. Third step is that is to find out your energy number. So you can actually go to the App Store or the Google Store and download my free Mary Diamond app. And this actually on App Store, there's already an app. The new app is already up there, and the Google follows in a few days. And so what you have is that you will be able to put in your birthday. So you put in your birthday and you put in your birth gender. It's connected with the DNA of the body. And so you put in these two things and it starts calculating. And when you calculate, then you will get a number. So for example, I'm in energy number 5. Yeah. You're probably energy number 8. Yeah. Okay. So that means we have southwest as our strongest direction. You will get a compass. And this is the compass, yeah? And so each compass, you will see that you get based on your calculation, there is a success direction. For you, that's southwest. That for somebody else can be east or northeast. You have a relationship direction, a health direction, and a wisdom direction. Yeah. So what people do, they hold the compass in the center of the room that they want to look at, like your office, your living room, your bedroom. These are the 3 major ones that I always want, because that's where you spend the most of the time. You don't check your kitchen or your bathroom. You are not staying there all the time. Yeah. And so then you hold and see if, as you're in a power position, if you could also face one of these directions. Yeah. So you cannot always do it perfectly because the way things are built, right? So here, for example, I can not face my success direction, but I can face my wisdom direction. So you try to be in a power position and face one of your good directions. If that still doesn't work, just go for the power position. And then the fourth step is you will then see, based on the app, where is that success direction? So right now, my success direction is behind me. Yeah. So my success direction, what is there is my awards are there, the images of very powerful clients I have. I have there my books. I have there my logos of my company. So I put in my success directions things that really matter, that inspire me. Could be putting your vision board there. Yeah. So it could be your journal where you write things down that you want to, that you desire. So anything that you feel you want to uplift yourself. So when you go to the free app, you will actually get several videos that will guide you how to do this. So it's really wonderful. It's a free app. And then if you're interested, you can upgrade to know more and do your own diamond energy journey. But the whole point is, once you have activate things around you and you sit in the right position, it's like something shifts in your brain. It's actually you're going into flow. Yeah. And then your home is adapted to your energy, and not just a general feng shui. They know students or do prayers or rituals or whatever you're focusing on qigong or tai chi or yoga. You always want to look at, when your eyes are open, you look at one of your good directions. Yeah. So when you do that, it's like you have much more results, positive results, and bigger impact with what you want.
Mm, I love all of that. I am an 8, right? So I'm a connector.
Yes.
Can you explain what an 8 is, like a little bit
Yeah.
to the people that may resonate with that?
So yes, so there are 9 numbers, yeah, and so every number has an energy archetype. So the connector is literally that you love to connect people. First of all, you love to connect with people, but also you love to connect the dots. So these people are very interested to understand everything. Like they go beyond what normal people think, and they want to research. They want to understand, like beyond the veil of the, I would say, the three-dimensional world. Yeah. And they're great learners. Yeah. So they always are looking. And so what you're doing right now with interviewing people, that satisfies your eternal learner in you, right? That is like something you just want to know so much. Yeah. And so I'm like this. I can keep studying, I want to know everything, right? But I also love connecting with people. We are people that literally we love people. So we love to share. It's not just to know it. And some people are happy to know it, but that's not enough for you. You want to share it with people. Yeah.
How did you get me to a T? Like I feel like I've read this, like the description of what an 8, the connector is, and I'm like, you've got me. Like, how did you get that information? Like, is it the higher knowing? Is it just your years of work and feng shui? Like, how did you
Yeah,
get this
it's
information?
years of work in feng shui and understanding, the psychology of the energy numbers. And so I did so many meditations and receiving exactly how to describe it, and then what to do exactly. I mean, it's 25 years of practicing, working with this, that I just can explain to people like this is what's going on in your life. But also on top of it, there is a time aspect to it. So based on your birthday, there is a cycle of time. Like this year for you, when we speak, you need to focus very much on your health and healing. Yeah. And so healing the old wounds, the old traumas, in order to get to the next level of success, that's what you need to focus on for you this year.
Hmm.
Yeah. But next year, you have a whole new cycle that happens. And if you haven't done that yet, you should write a book this year, because next year is a great year for publishing for you. Yeah. So I just want to give you that one.
Oh man, I love it. I love this universe. I love the synchronicities. How did you learn to trust that inner voice, right? Like I find myself doubting a lot of what I'm receiving just because of the analytical mind, right? Of my programming of like you, if you didn't receive it in your physical 3D reality, then it doesn't make sense or it's not valid, right?
Yeah.
How did you develop that trust?
Well, that's a question that many people ask me. Because, well, I would say for me, how I trusted it is because I think because I went to that other side, yeah, and I came back and I was like, I'm living life full on, from that moment on. But there was another very major experience when I was about 26, what people call an enlightenment experience, where I totally unified with the whole universe. And after I came back from that experience, there was like no doubt in my mind anymore. I have to be honest. It's like I can perhaps doubt, like if I'm cooking, like would I put this ingredient in it or not? Things like this, yes. But that is because it's something physical, right? Um, but when it's really about connecting in with the connecting in with what I want in life and my desire in life, I have to be honest,
Just a knowing.
there's no doubt. It's like I'm so trusting, I'm so surrendering to that trust, that and believing that the universe has my back. It's supporting me all the time. And when that means I don't move forward, then it's also perfect that I have not to move forward in anything. Yeah. So if I suddenly there's flow, and sometimes flow is also about being still and being okay with everything. Yeah. So for me, it's always this trust in the flow or the not flow of the universe. And I know the universe has my back and supports me 100%. So why would I doubt that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Like, I mean, you've had some amazing experience, like peak experiences. Like Maslow would 100% say that you've had 2 peak experiences in your life. Whereas some of us, we got to really work towards that. Like there's a couple of, great spiritual teachers that that talk about their techniques that I've been using, and I've really seen like some weird things happening. Not weird, but like more or less like me connecting with the universe, and it feels good, right? It's like Neo in the Matrix, right? Like follow the white rabbit, and I've been following the white rabbit, and things are happening, and I'm like, whoa, this isn't exactly what I thought it was. And I'm starting to get some insight on desires and some of the meanings behind that. So yeah, I just think it's that trust. You just receive this inner voice, and it tells you things that feel good, and your analytical mind wants to say, well, are you acting from a place of ego, or are you acting from a place of the heart? And I find that the more that I reside in my heart center, like the more I connect with that, that's been like a game changer for me. The more that I reside in the heart, the more that center gets activated. And that's what I usually lead with, or I follow. Like in my meditation, like I receive a message that, God's finger is the heart, and he points you into the direction, and that you should follow your heart.
I totally agree with you on this. And one of the perhaps the greatest game changer for many people in law of attraction is that they are so much in their mind about what they want. But what if they can just sink into that heart space and focus on the joy and the happiness and the gratitude of what they already have? And then the universe is saying, okay, you're already happy with what you have. Let me give you more. Yeah, because we're so focused on being upset and angry and sad and emotional about the things that don't work. And I have been there. I have been with huge issues with my health. I have been totally, without finances. I know how that feels. But even in these experiences, and I was tested sometimes by the universe to still be in these moments and still feel happy and joyful, and just knowing that it was all good, yeah, whatever was happening in my life. And so I think that is very important to look into.